Can you hear me? Alawali, I think you should be able to hear me. Good, yeah, good evening, good day, good evening, good afternoon. It's been a busy day, but then we are here. Um, so I thought about it. I probably was not gonna stream again today, but yeah, I think I'm here now, and I'm just going to quickly talk about, yeah, Bossy, how are you? Uh, it's been a busy week, been a busy day, and yeah, we'll just quickly talk about JavaScript as usual. And if you have questions, you can let me know what questions you have so that I can attend to them. So the goal today is to try to look at the date and time in JavaScript, then for us to understand how they work, right? And uh um can any other person hear me? Olawale, are you sure you can hear me? It's interesting. Probably, maybe it's because of my internet. And um, okay, so I wanted to see what was going on. View channel. Okay. I want to see if I can hear myself. That's interesting. Okay, I think I can hear myself. Um, yeah, you can check from your hand, boss, and let me know if it is better. Um, so just go right into yeah, we'll just go right into the stuffs we have today. I mean, the date and time. It's always like a very complex stuff in JavaScript, and also we can also look at temporal, right? Look at temporal. Look at the documentation and look at what temporal is bringing to the table. And I think we should be good to write JavaScript in. And we should be good to write JavaScript inside of the browser today, or we can use the terminal if there's any need. We can use the terminal, right? And yeah, if there's any need, I can use Node.js. I think I should even upgrade to the latest Node.js version. Nvm install 22. I think it should be 22. Um, let's see, Node.js. We have what's the other one? 22.10, 22.10, 22.10. So, how's been your week? For those who are able to join, how's been your week? I hope your week is not like my own. I've been fighting problems throughout this week, different kind of problems with code. But then, yeah, grateful. Um, let's see. Let's just clear the whole thing here. Let's change this to my root. Uh, we can do nvm list. So we can do nvm use 22.1.0, and you should be able to use this now. And then if you go to node version, all right, so I have the latest node version, and let me bump this up a little bit so that you can see. I think so. If I do node, can you see my screen? Stanley, what's up? How are you doing? Is my terminal big enough or is still small? Um, yes, it's cold here. Yeah, you're right. It's cold here. Not too cold, but it's been raining. I think just light raining, and we had like a earthquake. Was it yesterday or day before yesterday? There's like a earthquake. Uh, I'm trying to see. Um, I think temperature, temperature, temperature in Kingston, Jamaica. So the temperature is 28 degrees. I mean, but it's a bit rainy. And let me see, earthquake in Jamaica. So we had an earthquake May 1st. That's 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago, which is not too bad. It's not too bad. Yeah. So, but I'm fine. My family is fine. I think I'm not sure whether there was any serious damage, right? I mean, it was uh, just some little shake, and you're scared for some few minutes, and everything is back to normal. So, and that being said, we can look at. I mean, we can use Node a little today to see console. uh, we can do some stuff in the console, right? The major thing is the ability to be able to use this, right? To be able to use this to create time, right? And yeah, if you want to create a new date, right, a date object, so you can have date to be new date, and here you have it. So you have date as a variable, right? And yeah, trust me, we're fine. We're doing well right there. So uh this I mean, coming from like an African perspective, you're not used to something like earthquake or something like that, right? So it's a bit strange, but I think like the Caribbeans are used to having shakings, right? They're used to having shakings like this. So we have burn. I think I can do burn upgrade as well. Um, and I'm also going to be using burn repel. And so here as well, we can do new date as well. So another one is that we should be able to do, we should be able to bring Dino as well into this place. Dino version. Dino upgrade. Can I do Dino upgrade? Dino was built without the upgrade feature. Please upgrade. I think it should be brew upgrade Dino. So we're just going to look at this was 142. What's the previous version? 142, 141. I don't even know how I installed the whole thing anymore. But if that's not going to work, then I can just go ahead and just use the current version and we can see what we have. So this is Dino as well. And let me just clear the whole thing. Clear and Dino. So here, this is Dino repo, right? The read eval print loop, and we can also do new date here. So it also gives us like the new date. So across node, born, or whichever JavaScript engine you're running on. And the other interesting thing is that we can also come into the browser to also try to use the browser for some scripting right there. And if we zoom this up a little bit, right, we should be able to see it. So it gives us the new date, and you can always do this there. So this gives us like what the current date is, right? But this is this a string, or what is the data of the date that is returned? Type of date. So we can see there that it is a object. So it means that there is no way for us to know, right, what date is made up of, right? There's no way for us to know what date is made up of, right? Only way to know is that, yes, the constructor is the constructor that produced that thing is it's the constructor is the date. I think we can do something like this. We should be able to do date instance of date. So I think this is the only way for us to know if something is like typically a date inside of your JavaScript. So this way we know that, okay, the constructor that produced date is what is the date constructor itself right there. And if you look at javascript.info as well, right, it allows us to, I think we need mdn as well to come here. Mdn date. And it's also important for us to know, right, that the the values that your normal date constructor can work with, right? The values that your date constructor can work with, right? The beginning, like the default formats that it can work with. So we can just go to so the constructor here, right? We can go to the constructor to see what the constructor can take, right? It can take a string, right? It can take a string. So if you pass it a string, something like this now, it's going to try to understand it, right, and convert it into like a date object for us. So if we come here and you do new date and you pass it a string, you pass it a string like this. So provided that that string is a valid date, it sort of like understands that thing. And if we pass it, if you pass it 12 0 to 1993, right, you see that it sort of also can understand this as well, right? So you can, but if you look at it now, the first one here, 12, represents what? Represent the month, right? Here represents what? The day, and here represents the year. So this might not be good, but at least you know that that is possible, right? You can pass that kind of information to um, your your JavaScript, right? It allows you to pass that into it there. And also, it is these are the list of the things that is possible. So you can either pass what a value, right? You can pass what a date string, or you can pass a date object. And now this is the interesting format. So it can we can take it further, right? By passing it we can take it further by passing it new date, and you can say, well, let me give you a particular here. So you return the date, right? No, I don't understand this. So it doesn't understand only the here. Let's look at this. Do you understand one? So you can see that now that we passed one and you passed a year, right? It automatically knows that, okay, this is something interesting, right? It knows that, okay, you're referring to maybe February, right? First, right? So I think like here, you can see that the February year was inferred. Why should that be inferred? Let me see if this is something that I think. Okay, I think this is what it did here. It used this one for both the day and for both the month there. If we change this to 0, and I think change this to 1. Yeah. So so this is year, month, and day right there. So this is very important for you to know that. So we can construct any new date by ourselves, right? Once you know what the value. And the interesting thing again here is that you can pass it what down up to what? Year, month index, day, hour, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. So we can construct that beautifully, right, through our JavaScript, right there. So it is like you can say something like, well, 1993, right? You want 1, which is the index of the month. You want 12, right? You want maybe let's go to the time now. We can say hour. This is 303 for hour. This is minute. This is 45, and this is seconds, which is maybe 59 seconds, and this is the milliseconds, right? 666, right there. So it's just right there, right? I think the ability to be able to just break it down and be able to pass this now, and if we pass this, we're able to also, I think we're also able to create a date object right there. And that's the beginning of what you can do with the date, right? The beginning of the things you can do with the date. However, so it is 0 counting as index of, right? The index that is using is 0. So that's why 0 is January, right? For the month. You can see that for the month there, right? We passed February for 1. So 0 is going to be January, and 11 is going to be the um the year. And if you pass 13, then it automatically knows, right? It continues it like that, even though there is no month called 13. So it's going to do 11, right? And it's going to drop 12 back to January, right? And it's going to use that to increase the number of months and years like that. So it can do some progressive adding of the values for you, right? By default there. I don't know if I answer your question there. So we're able to do that. And another thing is that we can also pass, like you can pass a milliseconds value here. You can see here from the JavaScript info, you can pass like a milliseconds, right? Which allows you to the current milliseconds value, right? From 1st of January, I think 1st January 1970, right? And that is the first date on the computers, on any computer, I think, right? Yeah, that's the first date on any computer. if you pass 0, right, 1970. So I don't know, before 1970, were they were they not using time? So I don't know why, but it absolutely means that that's the way the date was, the date object, the date constructor was built, right? So here, if you pass, let's say we pass 3600, right? 3600. So it knows, right? It added, so 3600 is 3 seconds, right? 600 milliseconds, right? Yeah, we can keep progressively just playing with it there. But the interesting part is just the ability to be able to create it past milliseconds, or you pass a date string, or you pass what, year, month, date, hour, right, minute, seconds, and milliseconds, right there. And also, um if we, after we've created a date object, right, you know, if we created a date object, we can now say we created a date object to be what, d. So we can now do d dot, um, we can do d dot different things, right? So it gives us access to the constructor itself, right? To string. So we have what? To string, to date string, to time string, to ISO string, to UTC string, and to GMT string, right? And let's check the current time here now. If we do, let me say I construct another let now equals to new date. So this is the current date, right, as of now, right? So if you want to get this value in milliseconds, right, you can just do to what, to just do get, I think it should be do get seconds, the current seconds right there, and we'll get the current seconds. And if we want to get the milliseconds, is there a milliseconds? So, okay, I think, yeah, there's get milliseconds. Yeah, there should be get milliseconds, get capital milliseconds. So it gives us the value there, and you can get the year, right? Get year. So you're able to just play with all the data that is being returned there. So that has broken down the data into smaller bits for us, right? You have the ability to, and not only can you just get from it there, you can see that we, after the get, we also have what? We also have set. So it means that even though when we constructed this particular date right here, right, let's see, when we constructed this here, the let's clear this whole thing. When we constructed the now, right, the value of now is what, today's date, but we can go ahead and set, we can do set day, right? I think it should be able to do set date. Let's say date now, and we can set date, and you pass a particular value to say maybe first. And now if we check our now, you would notice that that particular day has changed from today, which is the 3rd of May, to what, the 1st of May, right, using the set API. So the set allows you to set the time, right? You can adjust the time, right? And you are able to, you know, just do different interesting things with that value. So you can, you know, set the day, set the milliseconds, set, you know, anything you need to set to. So you see the set as updated, right? Get means to retrieve what the current value is. And so we are able to do all these interesting things, right? Get the full year, get the months, and, you know, get the hours, and get all these things here. So many JavaScript engines implement. So there's always get year and get full year as well. That's another interesting thing. So we now have the respective UTC versions of all these things, right? Where the UTC, right, is what, um, giving you some time zone. I think UTC and GMT. I don't know what they really stand for, but definitely I know that they are time zones related. So what's the full meaning of UTC? I really don't know what the full meaning of UTC is though. But we know that this is so this is the current UTC time. And I think this should be the time for people in Nigeria right now. Should be the time for people in Nigeria right now. And so if we do a let's just do a new let's just do a date. Let's do let date equals to new date. And we can do date dot get UTC. I think let's just do get UTC, right? Full or let's just say get the full. So I think the UTC, let me look at what the current date value is so that we'll see. So here it's pointing to May, right? And this current time. So if I want to get the UTC, date dot get UTC date, which is 3. If I get the UTC time. UTC day. I think it should be minutes. Let me do minutes and let's see what we have for minutes. And if I do day, so you can see day 3 hour. Let me get hour. I think hour would have been the best value. So you can see the hour is returning 21, which is 9, which is something like 9, right? 920 something range there about. So I think it also has the GMT. Does it have the GMT version? I'm not sure, but I know that there should be. So these are all the methods, right, that you can that you can use. And I think it also have this primitive inbuilt, but at least we have access to all these methods, right? All these methods that we can use. And we have, so I'm still going to talk about the toString version, right? The ones that we use to convert them. Okay, so we can even do to UTC. We can do to UTC. So we can do date dot to UTC string. So which will give us the equivalent time in UTC version there. So this works as well. You can just play with dates, right? Just play with it, right? And you're able to just create this string or that string from it, and you're able to just extract it. And we can do date dot to ISO format, right? ISO is like a format that is a bit common, right? So you have the month and you have the year, month, day, and then you have this T in between, and you have the date as well in between, and it ends with something like Z, right? It ends with something like Z in the end there. And what else? What else can we do, right? I think if you look at it here, you can get the date alone as a string. You can get the ISO format. The ISO format is following the ISO standards, right? International Standard Organization, I think. And then the JSON version converts to JSON, right? It helps us to return a string representing the date in ISO string as well. So it's similar there. Then to local date string, right? This looks at your locale, right? It tries to look at your locale to try to give you, based on your current locale, right, to give you what time would be in your own language, right there. And you see that it can accept these options, right? Whether you want it to be long, whether you want it to be numeric, or you want it to be long. I mean, these ones are very interesting though, and we rarely use them, right? We rarely use them per se like that. Having to see date and time in your current maybe language, right? Let's just paste the options here. Let me copy the options. Mm, so we have this there and we have this date here. I think we have this here. So we can now say date dot to local date string or to local string, and you can say let's just use English again. I think we can use again, and we can pass options. And you can see, so it's bringing out Friday, right? It's giving us the word version of, based on the fact that you said you want the day to be right. So if we change it to another local, I think DE should be Germany or Dutch. I think it should be Dutch. Yeah, so this is Friday in Dutch, in German, sorry, in German. And so that's the local string there. I mean, it's very handy when you need to do some interesting things based on the location of your user. And we have the string itself, right, which is in almost every JavaScript object, to time string to, and then you have the value of as well there. So that is basic stuff about the date and time. However, we can now start doing some other, other interesting things like so again, when you look at, I think I already talked about this ability. So if you pass this particular, there's no day that is 32. So if you pass 32 to a day, because this is supposed to be a day value, like most of the time our month ends in maybe 31 maximum, right? But so 32 will automatically go to February, right? 1st of February. So it can auto correct itself like that when you pass some excessive value. So if you pass 12, right, like I said, it will go to January. If you pass 13, it will go to February, right? And it will automatically increase the date and time for you, right there. And so again, when you plus things like this, here you're adding 70, right? It will also, just go higher and higher and higher and higher like that based on whatever value you want there. So again, if we do something like this, converting date to what? To string, right? You remember the last episode of the stream where we talked about conversion of objects to primitives, right? The ability to put a plus sign here, right? And that plus sign automatically converts, right? Converts the date to what? The whole milliseconds object, right? Which is now a timestamp right there. And I think we can pass some methods outrightly to our date, right? Like date.now, right? Date.now gives us what the current timestamp is, right? Anytime. And we are not passing any constructor to this. You're just passing now, which is what? A method, right? Which is like something like a static method to date, and it allows you to get the current timestamp. And if you get this current timestamp, you can always convert the timestamp to whatever date you want to convert that to. So for example, right, if you pass it to, let's say, maybe let timestamp equals to this, right? And then you can now say new date, and you pass the whole timestamp there, timestamp, and it understands what you're talking about, right? And it converts it to the current date that you're playing with right there. So that's another, very handy things that we do. So what would have been interesting is you are now asking that how do we carry out conversions? How do you carry out conversions between all these time values? So, or how do you add two values together, right? So let's say we want to add um So let's assume that I want to get the number of hours I have spent or minutes or that I have spent on this stream, right, today. So that would have been something around that. Okay, I started around, when did I start? I started around time of maybe let's see, today is 2024. We're in the 5th month and we're in the 3rd day, right? And 5th month would have been 4, right there. And the time I started would have been around 1600. So that is around 1600 here. So this is when I started the stream, right? And if I want to subtract this from, like maybe I want to subtract this from this now, can I do something like this from the current date now? So you can see, right, that what it did there is it subtracted the timestamp, and it was able to return like the current, the current timestamp for me right there. So I don't want the negative sign, so I can do math.absolute, right? Math.abs, and we get the absolute value there. So if we get this absolute value, right, the only thing we can do to this absolute value is that we have to manually convert it to the number. So if we if we divide this value by say 1000 here, what will it give to us? If you divide it by 1000, what should it give to us? That's the number of seconds, right? If you divide it by, is it 1000? If you divide it by another 60, right, multiply by 60, right, that should be, is this correct? It should be correct, right? Is this 60 by, let me see what I'm doing very well. Have I spent like 38 minutes on a call? Is 38 minutes correct? Yeah, that's roughly 38 minutes that I spent on the stream. Roughly 38 minutes thereabout. So it's, I mean, this way now, these are some of the limitations to with data, right? That it's too difficult to, to play around with, to get some of the exact values, right, to really get you to understand what is going on. But you have to be able to, like, just Dominic, what's up? Good to see you again. And yeah, this is the design guru that is a French national. We're able to catch up on LinkedIn, right, recently. So thanks for that catch up there. Today I'm talking about dates, just playing around JavaScript dates, so that people on the stream get to understand how date works and some of the little behaviors around it that is complex. So JavaScript dates and time are, quite, very interesting because of their unique ability. And you can see that it's the more you, because again, what we're doing is you're constantly subtracting it from this new value here. So you can see that these values are changing. So the more we are able to stay on the call, right, the more the value is changing. So it means that I spent roughly like 39 minutes thereabout on this stream today. So what else? Basically, that's roughly basic stuff about, what date time allow you to do. But the interesting thing there is that if anytime you want to do a start and end thing, you have to get the value to be milliseconds, right, before you then convert it to whatever you want to convert it into, right, before you are able to play with it there. And yeah, subtracting and playing with all these date value with normal subtractions are quite very difficult, right? But I mean, they are possible. Again, I've said it, like, it will just return it back to you in milliseconds, right? So it will be left to you to play, right? It will be left to you to to, like maybe convert it down to whatever format, right? Whatever format you need it to be. So if we run this function here, right, it subtracts, this one subtracts date, right, using the date object, and the other one subtract date using the get time, right? And they're trying to get the benchmark, right? The time of subtraction is 15 milliseconds, and the time of get time is 3 milliseconds, right? Yeah. So get time is so much faster, right? If you use the get time. So rather than using the object, right? Because there is no type conversion, it is much more easier for the engines to optimize it here. So okay, we have something that's not a good benchmark, right? But again, so it's just understanding that, again, like I said, the date time in JavaScript is a bit weird. And I think somebody wrote an article about fixing JavaScript date, which is like a uh very popular article, right? That talks about all of the problems with JavaScript date. It talks about like major, no, maybe most of the ones that the persons are, like no support for time zones other than using the local time and UTC, right? The parser behavior is so unreliable that it's unusable. Data objects are mutable, right? You mutate, they mutate. The DST behavior is unpredictable. I don't know what DST is though. And the computation APIs are weird, and no support for other calendars, right? And the person who wrote this is the person who created, I think, one of the major person I worked on. So we have Moment, npm package called Moment, right? It helps us to this helps us to manage passing, validating, and manipulating of time, right there. So you can if you want to use more about Moment, right, you can go to uh so this gives us the raw ability to play with date formats and stuff, right? So you can see that you can format date easily, right, to any shape you want it to be, and you can always get the relative time. This is one of the biggest need of anybody who is working with time. You want to get something like 13 years ago, right? You want to get 12 years ago, and you want to get something like, you want to get the relative time. So they call this relative time. Most especially if you're using something like WhatsApp. So when somebody sends you message, it will say like maybe 1 second ago, 2 seconds ago, 3 seconds ago, or yesterday, or so that is something we call relative time. So when you want to implement a feature like that, right, you can always use Moment. However, Moment has some also size problem. I don't know. They don't do some true shaking, right? And so another thing is, I think here it has access to calendar time, so you can subtract 10 days, right? Subtract 6 days, right? And it will give you something like this interesting format here. So I mean, it's just pretty much beautiful. If so, that's why people use all these libraries to help you to look at what you do here, right? To just get this kind of, very interesting today art, and the ability to quickly add. So if you had one day to today, and if I'm going to do that here, what we're going to do, right? You just want to, maybe if I want to add 1 hour to this current time now. So if I have the current date here now, which is today, so if I'm going to add 1 hour to this, you are probably going to maybe date.get time, and which is the current milliseconds, right? And you are going to add what is 1 hour? That is 60 multiplied by maybe 1000 there, about there. Not sure if this is correct. And you're going to do something like this. So I mean, and it gives you back this format again, and you have to still go back, convert that timestamp again back to the other format again. So which makes it very, very complicated. But with other libraries there, so let me bring in a particular extension that can help me to console import. So with this console import, I can bring in some npm package into my browser. Um, so we can do, I think, $high, right? Okay, so if I do $high moment, so now I have moment installed, and I can do moment dot, I think, get day thereabout, moment dot calendar dot calendar calendar. So we're able to just get this beautiful version of the time. And so I want to add one, is it hour, and so you can see the adding of 1 hour. If I want you to give me back, okay, so I need to put the dot calendar at the end to give me not the moment object. So do dot calendar, and so you can exactly see how flexible moment makes date. Just because you brought in a particular npm package, now you made it so flexible to, just to add, maybe if you want to add 2 hours, right? And and we can also subtract, right? So which is very subtract there. You're able to just subtract stuff easily and add stuff easily. So if you want to know more about moments, you can go to momentjs.com to do, so you can, I think it allows you to do timing, this is different, so you can also do time, you can get time in different. Oh, so I can get time in my Yoruba language. This is very interesting. So you can get time in like Yoruba. This Yoruba is my native natural language. So once you set your locale to like Yoruba Nigeria, right, you're able to, I don't even know what this is, but I think I know some of this. Abameta, right? Ishegun, and I mean that's what I'm saying again with the flexibility of all these other npm packages, right, over the normal date library. And the other one is the other npm library that we're also going to just quickly check is something we call datefns. Has anybody used datefns before? Datefns. um datefns um hmm. So datefns is another interesting, just similar to what you have with moment, but I think it's just more performant and much more, um and it has some interesting ways of doing things compared to moment there. So you can just import it, and you can, these are very tricky things that for you to be able to do this conversion easily. Like this is relative, you can see the relative time here, right, and or distance, right, and you can see the relative thing here last Friday at this particular thing here. I mean, we can still do this relative thing with JavaScript. You can do the relative thing with JavaScript yourself, but it's just going to take you so much effort, and you have to do so many checks. But all your additions and your subtractions on your check is going to definitely be at the milliseconds level, right? You understand that everything you do with the normal date object library, the date object in JavaScript, is at the milliseconds level. So the advantage of datefns, right, is particularly the functional programming option, right? And it also is immutable by default. And I think it has built-in types as well. So, and the APIs are pretty much simple as well. So we could just bring that into the picture. So I can do $, right, of datefns. And so if we bring datefns into the picture, let's just do datefns dot format. So because my local has been changed to what's my local? I don't know what my local is now. Is it D? Is it D? How do I know my current local in JavaScript? Current local in JavaScript. Local in JavaScript. Oh my god. How do I know my current local? So navigated on language. Okay, let's see what my current local is, because I don't know which language this is. Navigator dot language dot language. So why am I getting this interesting format here? Languages. So these are the supported languages here. I don't know why I'm getting this interesting, but I mean, you have an idea of what this is. Today is, let's do this. datefns dot. So I think you have the hard, you can see the hard days there, right? You can add, I think you can add 1 day. We had 1 day to today, right? And I think datefns is also close to your normal date object, because I think like this is returning back our whole normal date object right here. So if you want to, you can also format it back, right? And I think instance of your normal date, and you will see that it's still returning back your normal date object. So you're still within the context of your, that's some of the advantage of what the datefns there. And I think you can sub these, right? We can sub these. You can subtract these easily. Sub these. So if you subtract these there and here, and I think we're able to do the sub hour. Yeah, sub hour. So you can subtract 1 hour, right? Or you can either add 1 hour. So it has some nice API that you can really do there. So that is a little bit about dates today. I'm not going to be going far beyond dates anyways. If there's any question or suggestions or ideas around date, or anything about date that you want to know in JavaScript, right, you can let me know. So basically that is the rundown today. It's just pretty much short, but just the ability to, to use dates to achieve, anything you want to do. And I think we should also talk about the date.pass, because the date.pass is another very interesting API, which can take a string, right? It will take a string and, gives you back the exact milliseconds right there. So, right there, but definitely it has to be in this format. You can see that it has to be in this format, which is your ISO. This is our ISO format right there. And so basically, I mean, it's just a little bit interesting the things that you can do with time. There's one interesting task that I recommend you to try to take on, right? Just try to take it on yourself. And I think there is a relative, it has a relative task here. So yeah, this is a beautiful task here. Write a function, right, call format date, that would show what format date as follows, right? If the date since past is less than 1 second, it is going to return something like right now. And if the date since past is less than 1 minute, it's going to do n seconds ago. So where n is going to represent whether it is 1, right, or 2 minutes. So if it is less than 1 minute, it's going to be maybe 10 seconds ago, or 20 seconds ago, or 30 seconds ago. So if it is less than an hour, you're going to be giving them the m minutes ago. So if it is like, oh, it is 10 minutes ago, this is 30 minutes ago, right there. And otherwise, right, it's going to give them the full date in this format, right? The day, right, to date value dot month value dot year value space colon hour colon um colon minute, hour colon minute. So it is day, month, year, hour, minute, right, in there. So again, if you really want to get this right, it is not that tough, right? But all you're just going to need is to just be able to bring the date back to milliseconds. You carry out the operation in milliseconds. Once you carry out the operation in milliseconds, then you do the subtraction, right? Once you do the subtraction at the milliseconds level, then you try to convert back to maybe minutes, convert back to seconds, convert back to like hour, convert back to whatever format that you need, and then you're able to write. Obviously, this is going to use like a if statement, right? So if the value you get after subtraction is less than one thing here, this is the kind of format it should output. If it is less than a particular value, this is the output it should less than. But I mean, again, it's just worth trying, and this is what was built into maybe things like this here, where let's search for their relative. This is what format relative companion here. So yeah, just exactly just like your chat applications, the way they render the time when a message just comes in. And I can't remember one application that I saw recently, but it's just basically just like you said it again. So it's just for you to understand, the if you can do it with raw JavaScript, I mean, it tells you to just, it's not anything serious other than the fact that you're just bringing everything back to milliseconds, right? So when you get a particular date value, right, you pass it to the date object, right, just to get the proper milliseconds, right? And once you get the milliseconds, then you do the subtraction. And when you do the subtraction between the two dates, and then you start dividing to go to minutes, you start dividing to go to seconds, and you start dividing to go to any version you want to go to there. So basically, that is all I have for today with date time. Is anybody have any question, right? Or there's something you don't understand about date and time that you want me to talk about? If there's anything you don't understand about date and time that you want us to look at, I would be willing to really play with it there. Any issue, anything you don't understand with date time, yeah, be sure to let me know. But it's just to understand. I mean, we've talked just a little bit about date APIs, right? What you can do with your normal date, constructing it to get the milliseconds, the timestamp, which is always in milliseconds, right? And then dividing it to get the hour, dividing it to get the minutes, dividing it to get the exact thing. And you have also the .get APIs, which helps you to get what any version of the date and time that you really need. So it will be an interesting thing to be able to write that function that can convert the relative the relative versions here. And another thing is, again, all these tasks here are things that you can always, after we finish a particular module, right, you can always check on these tasks here and see if you can do them, right? Get seconds to tomorrow. Create a function called get seconds tomorrow that return the number of seconds till tomorrow. The number of seconds till tomorrow. For instance, if now is 11 o'clock, then the number of seconds till tomorrow. Okay, that's just seconds till tomorrow is, this is like, I don't understand this. Create a function, get seconds to tomorrow, returns the number of seconds till tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to start by if you had an hour, if you had an hour back to this, and an hour is going to be 60 multiplied by 60, right? Yeah, 60 multiplied by 60, and that's why this is here. Okay. Yeah. So the answer is 36,000 there. So which is 60 minutes multiplied by the seconds, which is 60. So again, this is just like you're going to be subtracting. I mean, let's look at this. This is, you're going to be subtracting. Let's just copy this. Let's see if we can work on this. Just something very short. So get seconds until tomorrow. This is the current date, right? Let current equals to this, and if we want to get tomorrow, right? If you want to get tomorrow's time, would be let's do return current, and let's see what we have in current. So let's see, get seconds onto current first. So we have, this is the current here, and how do we know tomorrow? How do we know when we've crossed to tomorrow? That's interesting. Get seconds to tomorrow. That's very interesting. I'm thinking of what exactly is the logic is going to be in there. So starting tomorrow is going to be tomorrow is going to be starting by, say, new date, and you are adding, say, 2024, and 2024 you're adding 4, again, right? And this is absolutely when tomorrow starts. So we want to see that in our function, right, our tomorrow starts when let tomorrow, right, equals to what? This declaration here, right here. And we can then say the difference between the two would now be what? Let div equals to tomorrow, right? Tomorrow minus tomorrow.getTime minus current dot get time. What did I just do? All right, and we can then just do the console.log of the div, right? And when we get the div, we want to divide it by 1,000, right, to get the seconds. So to get seconds, you can say div divided by 1,000, right, to get the seconds. And the moment you get that, you can say the minutes. Okay, I think it's seconds that they ask us to get. And we can return the seconds. And I don't know if this is correct, but what do you think, Stanley? What do you think? For anybody on the call, is Dominic still on the call? For anybody who is listening, what do you think? Let's see. So we want to call the get. So which is like 24/7, 24,752 seconds till tomorrow. I think if we want to get it in minutes, we can then, if we want the minutes, we can then play with it further. Let minutes equals to minutes. So seconds, right? Seconds divided by 60, right? And that's the minutes. And if we need the hour, let hour equals to minutes divided by another 60, right? And we can then return, an object of seconds, right, to be seconds, comma, minutes, comma, and hour. And yeah, we should be able to do this here. And we're able to call the function. So we have like how many hours? 6.8 hours before tomorrow. So we do like, is that correct? Yeah. If you do like 6 hours to today now, you get your value. So I mean, they're what playing around, just play with some of the questions, see if you can, see if you can do them and stuff like that. But basically, that is one thing that you can do, right? If you want to really understand what the time is, right? The major thing is once we do the difference, right? Once you always subtract your difference, you can always divide by 100 to take it to seconds, divide by 60 to get you to minutes, right? Divide by 60 to get you to hour, right? And you're just able to play with it and to just learn from it there. Any experience with date? Have you had any experience with date before now, Stanley? Yeah, Larry. Yeah. So I mean, we can always play with the questions, right? You can always take another question, play with it. How many seconds have passed today? So, okay. So if you look at this one again, how many seconds have passed today? Let me look at the implementation of this. So here, okay, look at this interesting version here. My app is going to break. I think they gave us the function should work at any day. That is, today should not be hard coded. Oh, I didn't see this. I think our app failed. Yeah. Based on this, we had coded we had coded we had coded our date here. So this would have been current dot get full here, right? And this would have been current dot get full no, not get full, current dot get month, and this will now be current dot get day, right? Get day plus what? Plus 1, right? And it should still work. There. I think it's supposed to be get. This is supposed to be get date, not day. It should get date. Right? MDN. Date. Get date. So we have date. Date is yeah, I think it should be date. So if we do this, I think this should work, right? So it is now, I think it's now future proof now, right? It's going to work with any, the function is going to work with any what do you call it now? It's going to work for any day, right? Unlike the way we had coding the date and the time for tomorrow. So I mean, it's just what. So they are subtracting they're just subtracting it directly, and they're just dividing by this to get it to the current there. So, and this is another alternative, right? Get your hour, get your minute, get your now, right? Get your hour, get your minute, get your seconds, and today's total seconds today is going to be total seconds today and total seconds in a day. Okay, look at this, interesting. So again, the idea is just try to solve as many of these problems as possible, so you then later try it yourself and you go back and check it whether you understand what is going on. But again, it's just about, like I said, again, the idea is we can't do anything without going back to milliseconds or coming down to milliseconds. Some way, one way or the other, we have to come down to milliseconds, right? Because you can't really do anything per se your without your milliseconds right there. So that is that about that. And don't forget about some of this benchmark, right? Time of subtraction 15 milliseconds and 2 milliseconds. So I think we're good for today. Tomorrow we're going to just like start another Next.js. Just understand where we are with Next.js knowledge and try to start building another project. Right, that's what I plan to do tomorrow with Next.js stream tomorrow. So if that should be all for today. Thanks for joining the stream. I mean, it was just like an hour of understanding time, right? Playing with JavaScript data. I didn't talk about temporal, right? I just forgot to talk about temporal, right? But you can always check this documentation out as well. I'm going to drop the link in the comment, right? If you want to get to understand it, we can use temporal here. I think, yeah, we have temporal dot, if we want to get the instant time, so it is temporal dot now, right, dot instant, right? Very beautiful. And I think it returns back the object. So if we want to get this is the value. How do I get the exact things back out? I think we have Let's see what the prototype has. So it has the ability to hard. You can see that it has the ability to hard. It has this equals, round, sin, subtract, to JSON, to local string, to string, to zone date time, to zone date high SO, that until. Look at this until is cool, right? Because if you're able to get until easily, you don't have to be subtracting different things anymore, right? And so I think I should be able to get dot instant dot let's see. The future is bright anyways, right? You're able to get dot epoch, should be dot epoch, epoch. Let's put this in a value. Let's say let a equals to this, a dot a dot a itself has this, so we should have a dot epoch milliseconds, right? Epoch seconds, a dot epoch. So epoch seconds right there. Okay, it's just a property. Epoch seconds, epoch milliseconds. And now we have microseconds. And this is interesting because this is the milliseconds here. All right. And I think if we pass this milliseconds to, let's just do this here, the new date, and you pass a dot epoch, a dot epoch milliseconds, and you pass this to this here, and you do this, and this gives us our current time. Right? It's just crazy because it gives you your current time in your normal JavaScript date pack. So the API is quite pretty, and I think I don't know how the hard works to get the current date in the system, in the system time zone and specified calendar. So we can use plain date, get the current system time zone, or you can get the, so it also support time zones. And so the first thing here to know is you have the temporal.instant, which represents the fixed point of the time at the exact time. And we also have another maybe object or class, which is temporal.zone date time. And so you can pass time zone, maybe America. How do we know the list of all the time zones? Because this would have been my question. How do we know the list of all the time zones? Okay, so we should be able to see this here. So definitely there will be a list of all the time zones. To know the string of the time zone, let me see if I can do something related to that. So just do temporal dot calendar duration dot instant dot now. So what does now do? What's the difference between now and instant? We have calendar, plain date time, plain month time, time zone. And what does this do? So this is a class that's supposed to give us this. Let new time zone, right? Should this be Nigeria / Lagos? I don't know whether they support this, but then there should be support for something like this. Invalid time zone. So I need to know the list of all the possible time zones, right? And how to create a new time zone by myself. So list of all time zone string. Okay, so they have Africa. What? This is not good enough. How can you have Africa like Africa forward slash this? This is not acceptable. Would I even have any Nigeria here? This is very, very not good. Is there any Nigeria here? This is Algeria. Okay, Lagos. Lagos. I've got Lagos. Lagos. Yes, Lagos must be there. If Lagos is not there, then it is not. It is not a real. It is not a real place. So we can do. We can do. Instead of doing Nigeria, you can do. It's supposed to be Africa. Africa, right? And A is now a real thing. So it's now a time zone that we've created, and we can now do get the instant for that. Can we do this? A dot get can I get this? No. How can I get the time for this time zone? How can I get the time for this time zone? So, okay, so this just creates a time zone object. That's all. It's just the time zone object that it creates. So we need to pass the time zone to temporal itself to be able to create this for us. But again, I think I think just the ability to have time zones in itself is another win, right? Just the ability to have a time zone is a win because we've not had this before in JavaScript. So so we have the zone, we have the now, the instant. What's the difference between the now, the current system time? The instant represent a fixed point of the exact time, and now represent so the zone date time. Okay, so if you want to get something like this, okay, look at this now. You can pass it the right year. So you can pass the right year, pass the right month, pass the right day, hour, and all these interesting things ahead. And you can also get the plain date by passing the year, passing the month. Let's see. This is pretty much it's pretty much dope, right? Like pretty much very, very beautiful. So you can say temporal dot plain date and you pass it to the object. So you can pass it as string. So 2024, comma, ISO months, we are 5th, right? And we are in the 3rd. So we can do new. So it created like a what? It created like a temporal object, and we have the day of the week, the day of the year, the day in the month, the day in the week, the day in the year. What? Is it a leap year? In leap year? Wow, in month, the month code, the months in here. This is interesting. So we can play with it further, and you can say um let's say let temporal, let's say temp equals to this, and um you have um you have so dot temp dot days of the week. I think it's a day, and it should be, is it, I think it's a parameter, day of the week, and you can say day of the year, day in the month. Okay, interesting. This in that month. Okay, the number of days in May is 31. What? This is so much beautiful. Like, this is so much beautiful because, again, I don't think we can figure that out before in your previous JavaScript. There's no way to figure that out until you sort of just had and get to the end there. So to have, the number of days in that month, which is May, is 31. And I think it should not only work with the Gregory calendar alone, it should work with the number of days in the year. How many days have we spent in this year? Oh, 124. Look at this, is beautiful. Like, this is just beautiful and amazing. So we spent 124 days in this year. I don't think it can get better. I don't know whether we can use this in our project, or you just, if you want to use this in your project, you just need to find a polyfill, right? You know what polyfills are, right? Just say temporal polyfill, right? Just do temporal polyfill, temporal polyfill. I mean, people are just mad, and people already created npm packages for the temporal polyfills already. People want to use like all these things easily. So here, this is a polyfill for you that you can, if you bring this npm package into your project, you should be able to use this easily. And it's only 20 kilobytes, and it is compliant with the spec. I think I want to read the spec now. I'm crazy interested in the spec now, because this is so beautiful, right? JavaScript engineers have not had it so easy to be able to to look at what is going on inside JavaScript like this before. So when was the last change? 3 weeks ago, last month ago, and last month. It's not bad. It's not bad. So if you put this CDN in our code, we are able to use it. Let's just try to bring it into our browser. I can bring it into my browser now with my console import. My console import. No. I need npm cdn. That's on package. So I need to use on package to give me npm. What's the package name? The package name is this, and give me the polyfill. Okay. So if we get this, if we dump this whole thing inside our browser, it should work. Let's do this here. So temporal, where are you? Yes, we have temporal now. We have temporal now in my browser, so we can do temporal.instant dot do temporal.instant how do we use temporal.instant again? I forgot it. I did temporal.instant earlier. Temporal.now.instant. Okay, temporal.now.instant. So temporal.now, right, dot instant, right, instant. So this should give us, and it's going to give us some things here, and you can now say what is your current dot get, let's see, dot get dot epoch. I think it should be epoch let temp2 equals to this, temp2 dot epoch, right? It should be let's just say dot to local string. At least this should give us, so this is the current date and time now, and we can get the dot we can get the dot we can get the until, I mean, it's just beautiful what you can do here. I want to get my time, I want to get my milliseconds now. I think I can get my milliseconds here. So yeah, you're able to bring it into your current project with this idea here. So, but I think that is a little bit about temporal. If you want to really know more, I think for me, right, my take home is I want to understand more about the dot now, the dot instant, the temporal dot zone date time, the plain date, the plain time, the plain date time, the plain year month, and the plain month day, then duration. I think this duration is going to be interesting. And then dot time zone, then dot calendar, then the object relationship, the string, persistence and parsing. This is just too powerful, right? It's just too powerful, right? Because with this, we have so much power, right? You don't have to use any external API, any external thing. You're just able to get, I mean, yeah, you can get the time in Egypt easily. So you can get the exact time in any time zone right there. So what is get previous transition? Oh my God. Yes. Boss, you're surprised at all the things that we are digging out, right? Right? Because the date is so much powerful. Like if you look at it on like and if you don't pay attention, you just think like, well, date is just something simple, right? Something just casual. But I mean, if you keep digging and digging and digging, you would really see that dates is something powerful. And it's just because, again, if somebody's using your app, you want them to get the time, the exact time in their own location, not the exact time in your own location, the engineer. So you have to factor in, right, the proper time, right there. And it's just powerful what you can do with dates, honestly. And for me, I think I'm excited about this temporal thing. And I think if there's something you want to really appreciate about JavaScript is the beauty of how anytime they try to solve a problem in JavaScript, they take the time to solve it in a correct way. And you see the way the formal date object was. And if you look at what temporal is bringing, right, it solves a lot of problems, right? Solves a lot of problem, right? Just that is the beauty of JavaScript. It's just that beauty of they know the date wasn't working, they know the date is messed up, but they paid attention into solving that problem, and they came up with this beautiful API or this beautiful implementation that we all can then use, go ahead and use. I mean, I was asking this guy from the TC39 team any updates about temporal or when temporal is going to go live in the browsers. We don't know yet, but I mean, if people are already creating npm package about it now, you trust me, people just want to quickly use it. That's just what it means. People are tired and people just want to freaking use this as fast as possible. But the size here is a bit much. I mean, this is 582 kilobytes, but when you gzip it, right, it's going to be something like 20 kilobytes. So, and but this is beautiful. This is beautiful, right? And managing dates in your application doesn't have to be very painful anymore, right? And so, guys, engineers are really working. People are working behind the scene to make a lot of APIs, a lot of things better, and internally avoid big int operations altogether. Global usage. Whole calendar, excluding the Chinese and the Persian calendars. I can imagine that you have all the calendars in the world right inside this. My God, this is so interesting. And this is the official ECMAScript test, the test suite, right? And so look at this. Do you see this now? Does anybody see this here? Does anybody see this? I mean, if you really want to know and understand how much energy is taken into making energy that is taken into making the web a better place, it's just amazing. Because okay, so ECMAScript temporal related has 7,100 tests, and this particular library is passing 6,463 already. So this 491 was skipped due to superficial method descriptor non-compliance, and 176 skipped due to aforementioned internal deviations. So, I mean, again, this is another thing. Again, this is written in TypeScript, or it should be written in TypeScript or JavaScript. It should be written in TypeScript. So you can also read this to also understand the goal here. But you see what I'm talking about is just that ability to just just come in and get better. I think it was written in JS. Okay, I think it was written in TS. Yeah, TS. I'm just really excited about JS, to be honest with you. I'm just like anytime I think about the superpowers that you have as a JavaScript engineer, once you know the things you should know, right, you have some amazing superpowers. And coming into some of this code base here to read, to understand what is going on as well, will help you to be able to know how to use all these libraries in a lot more better way. So I think I should just stop this stream because I can keep talking forever. Right, thank you for joining the stream. Right, I really appreciate you guys as usual. Thanks for your support, and can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be interesting as well because we're just going to be talking about next, right? Leveling up our next skills. And yeah, if there's anything you want me to talk about, just reach out, right? Reach out to me. Let's talk. And then I plan to bring in some guests. I've been talking with some of my mentees, some of the persons that I mentored, and soon I should be bringing them on a call one by one, and they're going to share their experience with you. And I think that's something I should do. Some persons that I've mentored, right, 3 4 5 years ago, I'll bring them on a call and they'll be sharing their experience with you. And I think it's going to be interesting. So just watch out. Please tell somebody about what we are doing on YouTube. And yeah, can't wait to see you on the next episode. Bye for now.